Season is fast approaching, and that means it's crunch time as sides jostle for a final spot. That's certainly the case for the Newcastle Jets, who arrive in Melbourne hunting a crucial win, while Western United chase a miracle late season turnaround. Good evening and welcome to Amy Park here on Wurundjeri land as Western United host the Newcastle Jets. Both sides lining up on the Isuzu Ute tunnel cam. And the green and black, well, they would provide one of the most compelling turnarounds in A-League history if they could somehow orchestrate a revival from just 8 points after 15 matches. But remember, this is the A-League. Strange things do and will happen, and maybe that announcement this week that they will play in their new home base in the coming months, maybe it could provide the catalyst. But the men from the Hunter hope there is no turnaround tonight as they cling to the coattails of the top six, with the league's youngest side desperate to haul themselves within touching distance. But for now, Western at their home, away from home. It's been a ground which has brought so many happy returns. 2 wins from 3 here this season, and of course the venue for that championship triumph in 2022. 3 changes for John Aloisi's side after their defeat last week in Wellington. He's reshuffled the formation, so plays with the 1 striker up top tonight. Michael Roos is benched in favour of midfielder Matt Grimaldi. Tomoki Imai returns from COVID, so Vidmar drops to the bench. And Josh Risdon, he gets a sea change. He switches the right flank for the left, with Charbel Shamoun making his starting debut. The former Newcastle Jet, Daniel Pena, well, didn't he light up the league during his time at the Jets 2 years ago, recording 11 assists and 4 goals during 23 matches with the club. He's shown glimpses this season, but hasn't quite hit the heights. Maybe a meeting with his old side could bring out the best in Pena. Speaking of his old side, just the 1 change for Rob Stanton's men after that dramatic draw with the Wanderers last week. Clayton Taylor picked up a knock, so he drops to the bench, with Daniel Wilmering filling his spot. Striker Apostolos Stamatolopoulos is chasing history, now just 3 goals away from equaling the most goals in an A-League season for the Jets, which Adam Taggart holds. He scored 16 in the 13-14 campaign. Speaking of players coming up against their former employers, Ryan Scott made his A-League debut for Western United back in 2020. He made 21 appearances over 4 seasons with the club, but it's been his form at the Jets which has really got everyone talking. 2nd most saves in the league this season with 77, and the 2nd most big chances in the league saved, up at 18. Well, John Aloisi, he's pumped about the news this week that Western will be moving into their home base at Tarneet next month. But for now, it's Amy Park, a venue he's excited to be at. It's the 3rd time they play here this season in 15 matches. And he's certainly happy to be here in Melbourne. Rob Stanton spoke this week about the importance of finishing this middle third of the season better than their first third. 9 points from their first 9 games. They've got 9 points from the 8. They want to make it 12, close the gap to the 6, and then that final part of the season chase for a final spot. We've got the English-born Victorian Jack Morgan. He's in charge of his 24th A-League men's match, the first time he's refereed this fixture. Western United, well, they would just love 3 competition points. 7 matches it's been since they last tasted victory. It was here at Amy Park. And we've got a false start. And we are underway now at Amy Park as Western United chasing win number 3 this season as the Jets. It's all about 3 points for them tonight, making it 3 from 3 against Western this year, as Lockie Wales with an early strike on goal. And hopefully for Western fans, Mossy, that's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, a positive start, and Johnny Aloisi alluded to it in the pre-game, just about the energy around the dressing room this week with their new home at Tarneet being announced.
Now Newcastle through Pahaja almost finding a little opening between the starting debutant Charbel Shamoon and Tomoki Imai.
Yeah, a little bit of action at both ends early on, which is always a good sign, but beautiful night for football here at Amy Park. There's a big concert just around the corner. Let's hope that we see a few footballers singing tonight on the pitch, because the ingredients are there for what should be a very good game of football. Newcastle, as you said in the opener, Benny, really hanging on to the coattails of the top six. They'll be desperate for the 3 points, and we all know Johnny Aloisi and Western United's plight at the moment. They just need wins any which way.
And yes, mathematically still possible for Western United. You know you're getting into difficult territory when it is mathematically possible, but they go on a bit of a run. You never know what can happen. So at the back end of last season, they weren't as far behind as this, but they did go close to tracking down that top six with a surge late on. Lockie Wales looks to take on Moragas and earn what will be a goal kick. Lucas Moragas for his side. Western United edging the win probability. You wonder whether that's also down to the fact they've got such a great record here at Amy Park, over a 50% winning record for their home matches here, Mossy, and just wonder what kind of impact that has. John Aloisi really spoke about that this week, how good it is to be back in Melbourne, not having to travel. Grimaldi, Risdon. Because when they do play those home matches at Ballarat, it's about an hour and a half drive out west.
Yeah, that's right. Look, they've won 3 out of their last 5 at Amy Park, lost 2, and I'm sure the coaching staff at Western United would have been hammering home that point to give the players some added confidence. I think it was Scotty McKinnon in the pre-game mentioned that they'd played here, there and everywhere, and it's never easy. It's not an excuse, as Luke Wilkshire mentioned in that conversation. They certainly need to use this home ground advantage to their advantage tonight.
And you think about those matches, so the 2 wins against Brisbane and Melbourne City, the other defeat was against City. And you remember that game, they're up 1-0. It was 2 wonder strikes, which got City the victory that day. So there's something about this ground in Western that they seem to play better at, unlike Ballarat, which has seemed to be somewhat of a cursed venue for them.
Off the back of that record as well, we talk about the Jets, and they've never scored more than 1 goal against Western United in Victoria. And if the talk turns to action tonight for Western United, you would think that they'll find the back of the net. So Newcastle might have to break that duck if they're to walk away with the 3 points at the end of the game.
Newcastle getting that solitary goal in the 1-0 win in Ballarat. Stamatolopoulos scoring the winner way back in round 4, and then they had that win just after Christmas, a 2-0 win back in round 10. Pahaja with a first half double, and then they had to play out the final half hour with 10 men, Newcastle, with Stamatolopoulos sent off. So he's been heavily involved in both these matches against his old side. Jets leading goal scorer, the league's leading goal scorer this season.
Well, what a season he's having. I mean, 13 goals, and his side has scored 13 goals. That's remarkable in itself. And he's sitting just behind Adam Taggart from the 2013-14 season, Joel Griffiths from the 2007-8 season on 14 goals. So he's certainly got his sights set on the Newcastle Jets goal-scoring record.
Well, that's neatly done by Bottage, but Wales in the foot race with Moragas wasn't going to win that duel, and that was well done by the Newcastle fullback. Now Wilmering.
Just going back to Stamatolopoulos, I think Luke Wilkshire and in the pre-game mentioned the Socceroos, and whether Stamatolopoulos would be in the sights of Graham Arnold. We've got Lebanon coming up. I think that's an extra spring in the step for players like Stamatolopoulos, who will be eyeing a spot in that squad. The feeling there'll be a strong flavour of A-League players taking on Lebanon in Sydney next month.
I'm not going to ask you to reveal your sources, Mossy. But, yeah, it's a big moment for some of these A-League players over this next period of time. Put their name up in lights. They're in the full swing of things as well.
You're clearly alluding to my friendship with Graham Arnold, and I'd never ask him about selections and what he's thinking, because it's the wrong conversation to have. What I do know is it is a fantastic opportunity for A-League players to really put their hand up ahead of the Lebanon game. And he showed that he'll put his faith in A-League players to take them to a World Cup, and they responded.
And a good window lining up, as I was just alluding to there, Mossy, with the fact that the A-League is in full season. Now you think about the window just before the A-League starts. Usually Graham Arnold wants to use European players because the A-League players aren't in their full season. So what an opportunity for them. See what Brandon Borello did last year, and players like that get your opportunity. You can really go on with it.
Well, the other one in the A-League who I've really liked the look of this season is Adam Taggart. He's got the experience. He's been scoring goals. He's been leading Perth Glory. He's certainly been key to the way they've turned their form around over the last month under Alan Stajic.
Stamatolopoulos just getting a little clip from former Jet Angus Thurgate. 6 seasons he spent with Newcastle, but departed for Western United this season. It's a poor pass turned over by Natta, and Wales has angled that pass beautifully for Grimaldi. What an opportunity that was to grab another goal this season for Matt Grimaldi, who did score in round 9 against Sydney. And once again, Mossy, this season it came from a mistake from Newcastle, just turning the ball over, and here potentially is another opportunity.
Yeah, look, it was great shape from Western United to start with. They closed the passing lanes for Newcastle. They tried to force the pass, and then when the ball fell for Lachie Wales, that was such a nonchalant pass with the outside of his right foot perfectly weighted into the path of Grimaldi. He'll be disappointed, the youngster. He didn't at least get that on target. He had open space in front of him. Decent first touch. Fantastic counter-attack from Western United.
Really intrigued to see how Western go from an attacking perspective, playing with just the one up top tonight. Remember, the last match they did at Mossy was in Unite round against Macarthur. They entertained that day. They scored 3 goals. It's their best output of the season, and here they come again through Pena down the right to the byline, cuts it back, and Moragas is going to have to knock it out for a corner. This is an enterprising start from Western.
It is. They look like they're in the mood tonight, and that's a great sign. Here's that pass from Lachie Wales. Look at the weight on that. The outside of his right foot. That is absolutely beautiful for Grimaldi, who didn't give it the curtain call that it deserved.
Lots of pressure on Scott, and Stamatolopoulos got the header away, only as far as Shamoon. Pasquale getting up, but it was Bahaja's header away to safety momentarily for Newcastle. But here come Western again through Wales. That's well defended by Brandon O'Neill. We'll be looking to respond this week after a tough outing last week against Western Sydney. We know of his quality, the former Socceroo. Aquilina now distributes out to Ingham. Good width on show from Newcastle. As he bends it in dangerously, but straight onto the head of Tomoki Imai. Donick tricky. And Thurgate, he's picked that pass perfectly to Pena, and now Western can springboard forward once again. Wales in a one-on-one with Moragas. Still Lockie Wales. Now Bodic, blocked off by Grimaldi. And this is the Western Grimaldi. Risdon, line up for the shot. For a moment then, Mossy, I thought I'd called him the wrong name, but then I realised there's a Grimaldi on both sides, and now it's Bahaja speeding away and cutting inside. Jeez, he did well there, didn't he? Trent Bahaja, 2-on-1, and he got a shot on goal.
That was brilliant from Bahaja. That's when he's at his best. He's got open space in front of him, uses his pace. Look at this for a touch to get rid of his defender, Tomoki Imai, who is no slouch in the defensive duties. But that was brilliant work from Bahaja, and if he'd just been able to wait an extra second, I'm certainly not going to be critical of taking the shot with the outside of his right foot, but Wilmering was bearing down on the penalty area, looking for a square pass. A good retort from Newcastle.
So no relation between the Grimaldis. Nathan Grimaldi, Marconi Stallions Jr. and Matt Grimaldi, Maribyrnong Sports Academy Jr. Both coming into the league this season. Here is Matt Grimaldi. Outsmarted there by Rosas. Western trying to squeeze Newcastle in the corner with the press here. Really struggling to get it out here, Newcastle. Aquilina gets a little bit of good fortune off Thurgate.
The opening 12 or so minutes has had a nice open feel to it. Both teams starting to ask a few questions. Western have probably settled quicker. Here's that attack from Western United with Lockie Wales picking out Noah Bodic. Almost a very good touch. It just got a little bit too much height for him to get over the ball and get his laces through it quickly enough to find the angle to goal. But Lockie Wales has certainly looked lively. Pena, a couple of promising moments. Trent Bahaja for the opposition. Key players in attack are starting to warm their engines.
It's probably too early to say, Mossy, but do you feel Western are more well balanced with five in the midfield as opposed to playing the 4-4-2 that we have seen mainly this season?
Yeah, I was saying earlier in the season, I think when Daniel Pena was playing in a wider position, I thought his best position was as a number 10 in a more central area. And as it turns out, he has made the most number of killer passes, 24, which is top in the league.
Wales and Pena. Was there a handball? There was. Jack Morgan didn't wait a moment. He knew immediately that it had ricocheted into the arm of Nathan Grimaldi, and Western United get some reward here for a really good start to this game.
And it's those two players we just spoke about, Lockie Wales into Daniel Pena. And it's unfortunate for Grimaldi. His arm is away from his body in an unnatural position according to the laws of the game, but given his body position, the fact he's sliding in to try and block a shot, you couldn't call that an unnatural position, but according to the laws of the game it is.
Well, it's unfortunate, isn't it, Mossy, because if it hits under his armpit, he's probably all right, or he keeps that arm down, but it is no doubt a penalty here for Pena and Western United. Oh, we just touched on it. They were looking good. Change in formation, creating space, causing headaches for Newcastle. Could there be further punishment here? Ryan Scott, he's none from 8 in his A-League career, trying to save penalties. Up against Pena. And Pena with the cheeky Panenka to open the scoring. Would there be any other way from the Brazilian? He's got 4 for the season. He's got 1 against his old side, and Western lead.
Well, they say form is temporary, class is permanent, and this is pure class as we see how they earned the spot kick in the beginning on the Harvey Norman replay. Lockie Wales involved, Pena's shot, and look at that. That is pure class and courage from Pena. You don't want them to go wrong, but Lockie, Scott, you've got to feel for him because he went early and then there was absolutely nothing he could have done about it once he'd made his decision to move. And that is pure class from Daniel Pena.
Well, here at Amy Park, Western United score first once again, as they did in that match against Melbourne City early on. Can they go on with it this time? And for Newcastle, it's a somewhat strange position because they've taken the lead in 10 of their 17 matches this season.
Well, we trotted out that stat before that the Jets have never scored more than one goal against Western United in Victoria. To get the 3 points tonight, they're going to have to put that statistic to bed. But it's nothing less than Western United deserve from their opening. They've certainly had the better openings, the better chances. They've looked more threatening in the opening 15 or so minutes. Going back to your question as to whether they look a little bit more solid with the three in midfield, the two holding midfielders and Pena as a number 10. I think they look a lot better than what they did earlier in the season. And again, I think key to that also is having Pena more central. He's laid on 24 killer passes or final passes. They've broken the last line of opposition defences. That is top in the league by a long way.
Ingham linking with O'Neill. Rosas, and he's just given a little bit of a tug here. Earning a set piece. There's no doubt Western United deserve this 1-0 advantage after what's been a really enjoyable week for them. Announced that they're heading back home. And they'll be in their home training base at Tarneet next month, looking to carry on the good vibes here. Rosas straight into the leg of Wales. Wilmering whips it towards Natter at the back post. Grimaldi looking to make up for the handball at the other end.
Well, that was promising from Newcastle. Good delivery to the back post. Daniel Wilmering. Mark Natter did the smart thing. He didn't just get his head to it. He picked out a teammate by cutting it back. And Grimaldi just couldn't quite get his head over the ball.
How often do you see one centre-back setting up the other centre-back, Mossy?
Not very often. Sometimes we see fullbacks setting the other fullback up, but it could only be a set piece that would happen.
Pena, he looks up and about here. Sliding it into Botic, has Grimaldi in the middle, and Thurgate arriving late. Well, it was almost two former Jets getting on the score sheet there.
He was just always stretching for this Thurgate, wasn't he? As we see some more magic down the right-hand side from Daniel Pena, who releases Noah Botic. This is an intelligent ball. Just tries to pick out the central teammate. Falls free for Thurgate on the back post.
Squally.
This is good from Western United. They've taken the lead. One thing that can happen with a team that's bottom of the table and scratching for their first win is when they take the lead, try and start defending it. It's clearly way too early in the game to do that. So they really need to keep playing. which they are.
And it's a great point, Mossy, because it's an unfamiliar position for Western. This is only the 5th time this season in 16 matches that they've scored first. And those 4 previous times, 1 win, a draw, and 2 losses. So remember, one of those, of course, was that Melbourne City game we mentioned here at Amy Park. So on that occasion, probably couldn't blame them too much for sitting back. It was just 2 quality strikes, but it is something they haven't had to combat so far this season. The urge to sit back when you do hold a lead, because it's happened so few times. Aquilina going in hard, so too did Donachie. Grimaldi, neat little touch around the Newcastle version. Pasquale, Grimaldi sending Risdon on a chase, and he just couldn't quite catch up with it, the Western captain.
What about that little step over from Daniel Pena? So lively, so aware of what's around him. And he goes for the return pass, absolutely brilliant. Such an exciting player to watch. He really does bring people to the edge of their seat.
This is somewhat of a concern for Newcastle. Costa Grozos, who started every match for them this season, going down. Think about the holding midfield reinforcements they've got on the bench, the likes of Timmins. Stein's also there. Anyway, let's check in down on the sideline with Michael Zapponi. Zappers, how is it downstairs at Amy Park?
Oh, it is the most perfect evening in Melbourne. 25 degrees top today, and a perfect day for football, a perfect day if you're a Taylor Swift fan as well. And it is buzzing Melbourne at the moment. Yeah, you're right. There will be a change for the Newcastle Jets. Callum Timmins will be making his way onto the park. Not good news there for Costa Grozos. We'll get an injury update from them in a moment, but Western United looked really good in the last few moments. They're in action too. They've got a short turnaround on Tuesday night here at Amy Park against Melbourne Victory. Melbourne Victory's manager Tony Popovic is in the house, keeping a close eye on things as well. Of course, Victory have 2 games in short time as well. They're back here tomorrow night in the Melbourne Derby.
Thanks, Zappers. Yeah, former Jets assistant coach Arthur Dilley's there as well, watching alongside. He's, of course, in that role with Melbourne Victory this season. They do have somewhat of a hectic schedule. They've got to catch up 2 matches on the rest of the competition. Western, they've also got that match against Adelaide United from January to reschedule as well, which hopefully for Western will be at their base in Tarneit. Moving the ball around pretty well, but Heward Bell just thumps his boot through it, allows Newcastle a momentary opportunity, but Western again, they just look sharper, they just look right on song here tonight, and Newcastle not quite at their level at the moment.
Well, they're playing out what John Aloisi spoke about in the pre-game, which is an extra bounce in their step, good energy on the training pitch, a good feeling. And that's the thing, when you've got a home, you can build a culture. When you haven't got a home, it's very, very hard to do.
Jack Morgan coming back for the free kick. Now, just some clarification on the injury. Thanks to Zappers, he's been scurrying around down on the sideline. We have got it confirmed that Costa Grozos has been substituted out of the game with a hamstring injury. So, not a good one for Newcastle. been a difficult watch for all the fans back at home in the Hunter. A group of which I'm told, Mossy, is the Toronto Wobber Stags. Daniel McBreen's old side. They're having their season launch tonight, so a shout out to all the Toronto Wobber side. They play in the second division in Newcastle these days. Hopefully Mac is there. He's got a night off tonight, so I'd assume he might be. It's Ingham. Now Aquilina.
Is that the club where he got his famous grand final penalty celebration from, is it? The Stags?
That's right. That is right. A lot of people ask about that. What was the McBreen grand final celebration after that penalty against Western Sydney? Well, that was it. He was doing the Stag.
He certainly caused the ire of the Western Sydney supporters that he ran past. I think there was about 15 schooners of beer thrown at him.
Timmins has got a really important role here, coming in early in the game. Roses has been outstanding this season for Newcastle in that holding midfield role. Really, you'd say his coming-of-age season, so what a blow for him that he's been forced off, but opportunity knocks for another young player. And now Risdon. Thurgate. Grimaldi. It was Dane Ingham who came flying in on Matt Grimaldi, and Western playing on quickly. Bodic onto the right. And he's just a man not quite at the peak of his powers at the moment, Mossy.
No, that's right. You could see what he was trying to do, just get that early touch out of his feet. There's the free kick with Dane Ingham diving in. And there's Bodic just getting his half yard to try and bend it around Grimaldi into that back post area. He just didn't quite get his toe around the ball as he'd hoped.
Timmins. That's Bahaja. Newcastle just struggling to make any headway at the moment. A couple of early half chances, if you'd call them that. It's been all Western in the chance creation department in the opening 28 and a bit minutes.
Well, interestingly, the possession statistics around 50-50, but Newcastle haven't been able to use that possession to build any sustained pressure on Western like the home team has on the visitors. Hence why they're leading on the scoreboard too.
And Wilmering. Yeah, the XG really telling. 1.4 Western, Newcastle down at 0.11, 8 shots to 1. So just building up a lot of pressure on the Newcastle goal. Is there anything you can pinpoint, Mossy, that Newcastle need to address?
Well, you can simplify it by saying ball speed and moving Western around the pitch, but you've got to also give credit to Western's defensive structure. They've been very well organised. They're pressing at the right time. They're in sync with each other. So it's more of a credit to Western than it is a slight on Newcastle. But if they do find a way to move the ball from side to side a little bit quicker, it obviously moves that defensive structure of Western around, and then potentially some holes in midfield start to appear that you can exploit. But look at that, you can see Western set up in that 4-2-4 defensive structure.
Risdon having a decent night out on the left here. You're just wondering why he is out on this side. Charbel Shamoon, right fullback, so he's slotted in on the right. Risdon moving across to the left with Ben Garuccio still out with injuries. Not going to be too far away. with that hamstring against Sydney FC. Jacob Tratt, also another long-term injury. So too Dan Zaki with that shoulder. Tratt the MCL, but they do have Donachie back, which is good news for them, as this is a turnover which invites some pressure from Newcastle. Bahaja. And the strike, first time from Timmins, didn't look likely.
No, he was caught off balance, Timmins. Bahaja, his first touch was a little bit heavy, which took him inside. And then as he squared the ball or laid it off for Timmins, you could see him leaning back all the time. So we see a dejected figure of Costa Grozos on the Newcastle bench. It's not the way you want your night to go as a footballer.
We just hope it's only a bit of awareness and they just are taking a cautious approach, Newcastle. You hope it's nothing more than that, which you probably think so based on what happened. Bahaja is squeezed through and strikes on goal. That's a good strong hand from Hewitt Bell. He scored a double in the last meeting between these two, and it all just seemed to open up.
Well, he did the hard part right there very easily, and then it was the easy part where he missed his lines, Trent Bahaja. He couldn't get his first touch or second touch right. You can see there, it's underneath him, and then the second touch really lets him down. He makes the angle way too hard for himself and much, much easier for Tommy Hewitt Bell in the Western goal. Just a little warning sign fired across the bow of Western United. You've got someone with his pace and the class of Stamatolopoulos. Got to have your wits about you for 95 minutes.
And turned over again by Western. Bahaja shut down by Risdon. It was good pressure from the Western captain. Came across and shut down the space. Western just in the last few minutes just showing a few signs of fatigue after a really energetic start to this game. Now it's Pena gifting the ball to Aquilina.
Oh, that's well played from Western. Not so there as Pena slips, but they played their way out of trouble very, very well.
Aquilina, Timmins curling it in towards Stamatolopoulos. Will spill for Moragas. Wilmering. O'Neill. Moragas has some targets in the middle. He does get it towards them. Bahaja's header produces an outstanding save from Tom Hewitt Bell.
Brilliant goalkeeping by Hewitt Bell. That is a really smart reflex save, as Moragas does so well to get the cross in. Trent Bahaja gets plenty behind that, and Hewitt Bell flings out that right arm of his with a really strong hand to avert the danger.
Moragas getting up in a 50-50 battle for possession with Shamoun. A welcome to the A-League for the man on starting debut.
Still shaking the pain off, and Lockie Wales says, here, take the ball. That'll take your mind off the pain.
Pena, lovely curling pass, sending Grimaldi wide. Pena is coming, Grimaldi is shooting. And this time it's Ryan Scott. So two goalkeepers at each end who have been backups in previous seasons. They're standing tall this year.
This is good from Grimaldi. He just takes his defender, Dane Ingham, on, finds that half a yard by dropping the left shoulder and coming inside. In the end, a reasonably comfortable save for Ryan Scott. Looked spectacular. Was at a pretty good height for him, but two good actions down both ends of the pitch.
Second corner of the game for Daniel Pena and Western United on this preferred side, but he's going to use Wales instead. Little training ground move. Shamoun. Shamoun down he goes. Oh, it's a free kick to Newcastle. Is it a card as well for diving? Yes, simulation is the decision from Jack Morgan. The replays will show us whether he did get it right, and he certainly looks as though he has.
Yeah, he was anticipating contact. There's no contact whatsoever, as we see quite clearly there. Just would have liked to have seen referee Jack Morgan maybe play just an extra second or two of advantage there, because Lachie Wales had possession of the ball in a really dangerous area.
Well, can you play advantage in that situation, Mossy, if there's a dive from your side?
You might have me on a technicality there. Getting too excited. I just want to see goals.
That's an interesting one. You don't want to be wrong as a referee in that instance, though, do you? Because if there is a little bit of contact, or contact that may not be worthy of a free kick, as Moragas, well, there was certainly contact worthy of a free kick on that occasion. Because you know what happens, players running at high speed, little shoulder-to-shoulder contact can send them down. That might not necessarily be a penalty.
Yeah, that's right. Look, Shamoon was definitely anticipating contact. That there's no doubt. But did him going to ground stop the Newcastle players? Did it give Western an advantage? I'm not sure.
Grimaldi, he's going to earn a set piece here. It was that initial bump, I believe, because Ingham wanted to get the ball on the second occasion.
Well, once you have it put through your legs as a defender, there's only going to be one outcome from that next time you get anywhere near the ball.
Pena finds himself in space again, and O'Neill is chasing, but he doesn't have the pace to keep with him. Wales. Botic came in quickly, tried to angle it towards goal, and in the end, chance goes begging for Western, and there's a handball here going against Newcastle.
Well, that was unfortunate for Western United. Pena found himself in great space. They moved the ball so well through the lines, Western, as we see the handball there on Trent Bahaja, good officiating. But Lachie Wales was looking for Pena to feed him inside, in behind the Newcastle Jets defence. By the time Pena was ready to play the ball, Lachie Wales got himself too narrow.
It's been a really impressive performance from Pena tonight. Last week against Wellington, they suffocated him. They did not give him any time and space like he's getting here tonight against Newcastle.
Well, he's just going and finding space so well. He's popping up on the right-hand side. Central as a number 10, starting up high and dropping off the front line at times.
Might. For Pasquale now, Shamoon. Good close control from the Iraqi Youth International. Played in that Under-20 Asian Cup last year. Actually came off the bench in the final. And there could be a further problem here for Western. Imai's in the sights of Jack Morgan after the click on Stamatolopoulos, but I don't think it's going to be any further sanction.
Yeah, I think he's very lucky to get away without a yellow card there, if that's the case. I thought initially I saw referee Jack Morgan going for his pocket.
He did, didn't he? Definitely went towards the pocket and just recalled at the last minute. That pass from Natta caused Grimaldi a little bit of concern. But Newcastle able to get themselves out of a sticky situation, and Bahaja's early ball, well, it's well communicated there by Imai to allow Heward Bell to come out because there were Jets pushing forward.
Yeah, it was great vision by Bahaja as we see him break the defensive line of Western United again. He looks up, sees his strike partner in Stamatolopoulos at the far post. The cross just didn't quite have enough pace on it, but I dare say Stamatolopoulos, he had his time again. May have angled his run towards the ball rather than held his ground at the back post.
They've had some good moments, haven't they, Newcastle? In the last 10 minutes, they've worked their way somewhat back into the game, but they need something to show for it in these minutes before half-time.
Yeah, no, they certainly have, and Bahaja's been central to that, making those forward runs, asking questions of the Western United defence.
Pena, that time out foxed by O'Neill. Aquilina still going, and Jack Morgan did take a little bit of time, and well, this time he does give the card to Risdon.
I feel like Rizzo might have taken a bullet for his teammate Imai on that occasion. So if you're not going to book Imai for the last foul, he does go diving in there, Josh Risdon. Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on referee Jack Morgan.
Is it the 20 metres difference, Mossy? So Imai, his challenge on Stamatolopoulos was 10 metres inside the Jets' defensive half. That time 10 metres inside Western's half. Is that the difference? Because it was a similar challenge, wasn't it?
It was, and that could be.
So Tenyas, Panenka, penalty, the difference between these two sides. 16th minute opener for the former Newcastle Jet. How often do we see it? Players scoring against their old sides. Well, Stamatolopoulos has also got that opportunity on the flip side of things. Or Ryan Scott, but I don't think Ryan Scott's going to get himself into that kind of position in this one. Massive for Western to have James Donachie back after dealing with a calf injury for the first 4 months of the season. It was literally on the eve of the season. Did play in their cup campaign, but now they've got to get Jacob Trapp back up to full fitness after the MCL injury. So it's just been one of those seasons for Western. He's going down. Danzaki as well. That shoulder injury he suffered against Newcastle back in December. Newcastle with their own issues. Piscopo currently out. Lockie Bayliss as well. Jacob Dowse still can't get that knee right as well. Thurgate and Donachie. Decent link up with Wilmering, but it has crossed the sideline.
Well, as we approach the throes of half-time, you really can't deny Western United the lead here. As you see the ball just cross that sideline. Newcastle have had a couple of bright moments as well. I think back to that header from Trent Bahaja that forced a fantastic reflex save from Heward Bell. Kept his side with a clean sheet to this point of the game.
Risdon moving this one around the corner. Ronaldo in a duel here with Bodic, who's holding the ball up well, the striker. Able to link up, or he tried to with Grimaldi, but Timmins came and picked his pocket. So we've got a couple of minutes of additional time. It's Newcastle with an attacking 4-8, and they're going to earn themselves a throw here. And while you would say that situation that brought the penalty for Grimaldi for Newcastle was somewhat unfortunate, it was the pressure that Western United were putting on the Newcastle penalty box, wave after wave of Western attack, and in the end, that's what caused that situation.
Yeah, spot on. And most of that pressure was coming down the right-hand side through Lachie Wales, Daniel Pena pulling the strings, and it was those two that combined to earn their side the penalty. Pena, as you said, Benny, with a really classy finish. It takes some real courage and execution.
Have they got something else here before half-time, Western? So Newcastle in the same situation they were in last week against Western Sydney, the week before against Victory, where they were also down by a goal, and also against Wellington Phoenix. That is at half-time. Of course, they opened the scoring last week against Western Sydney. Can Western double this advantage? Bodic sends Grimaldi left and right. Wales, and now Pena. Here is Grimaldi. He has the time. Scott with a massive save in a huge moment right before half-time. But still the danger not gone for Newcastle. Wales taking on Moragas. Just note that moment down. How big could that be come the second half? That is a monumental save in that situation from Ryan Scott. Western will be filthy they didn't make it 2-0. Newcastle breathing a sigh of relief, but it's Western United, their former goalkeeper, who's kept them at bay there, but he couldn't keep out Daniel Pena's Panenka. And that's the difference at half-time. Western United 1, Newcastle Jets 0.
Maitland Ford takes over. Still going. What a run! Brilliant individual goal. Fowler, it opens up for the shot. Oh, Barry Fowler! What a goal! They're queuing up in the middle. Carpenter, who sets the bar so high for the Matildas.
Welcome back to Amy Park. This is match day 17 of the Isuzu Ute A-League. It's the most entertaining season of this competition. We are getting more late goals. We are getting so much drama. Would you believe there's more goals in the A-League this year, Phil Moss, than in the Premier League in England? It's pretty impressive. And one man who could add to that is this man, Clayton Taylor. Remember, he ripped Melbourne Victory apart at times during that match here earlier in the season, looking to add to that account as he comes off the bench. But Tom Hewitt-Bell, well, he's been a great wall of Western United in that first half. We're looking forward to seeing whether Western can keep a clean sheet or whether Clayton Taylor could potentially break them down. So we'll get some confirmation of that substitution very, very soon. So Clayton Taylor over to the sideline he comes. So it is Tom Aquilina who is being replaced by Clayton Taylor, who suffered that knock last week in that collision from that coming together with Tate Russell, the challenge in the first half. But he's recovered enough that he can take the field to start the second half. So Newcastle It's getting towards desperation stakes. They really need these 3 competition points. Western United even more so. We're underway in the second half. Can Western keep a clean sheet and go on with this, Mossy, or can Newcastle go against the second half trend of their season so far this campaign? And immediately, Western looking to create an opportunity through Botic, and now Pena. Risdon just let it run past him. And up comes the flag for offside.
Sorry, Benny, I wasn't blanking you. I was just letting that play unfold.
You blanked me twice, Mossy.
But no, to answer your question, yes, Newcastle can find a way back, and yes, Western United are capable of keeping a clean sheet, so it'll be interesting to see who wins what, but I think it's close, but good decision by the assistant referee, but I think Grace Gill and Luke Wilkshire summed it up pretty good on the couch, pretty well on the couch at half-time about that cutting edge. Newcastle certainly had some promising moments, but they did lack that execution when it mattered most.
O'Neill. Maracus had that run being offered by Wilmering, and Wilmering tried to offer him a pass in behind, but both just not on the same page to start this second half. But remember, Mossy, a couple of weeks ago, that game we were doing in Newcastle, the Jets and Melbourne victory, Clayton Taylor came on, same story right at the start of the second half. It seemed to ignite a Newcastle side who were behind by a goal. Just wonder whether it could have the same impact. He had a good little scurry there down the right edge.
Yeah, he was excellent that day. He really was an impact off the bench for Robbie Stanton. He's gone to his bench at half-time. I do wonder whether Tom Aquilina was suffering a little bit from a knock in the first half, just around the halfway mark. It was quite heavy. He got through the half, but I just wonder if when he cooled down at half-time, it might have been causing him problems, or whether it was just a tactical substitution from Stanton. Either way, Clayton Taylor is out there and more than capable of making a difference.
It wouldn't be a massive surprise, because Tom Aquilina has had some issues with corks this season. Thurgate diving in. Timmins is able to win it though for Newcastle, and it sprung out to Wilmering, who links with Moragas. That's well shut down by Shamu, and he's had a really good starting debut.
I think that was the wrong option for Moragas there. He tried to play the cute ball. There was 3 Newcastle runners in the box waiting for a delivery. And we know Moragas with that sweet left foot. Here's where we see Timmins and Thurgate going at it in midfield. Timmins comes out on top there. Potentially some studs left in the challenge from Thurgate, although he had the momentum.
Now Botic rounds Grimaldi. Pena making a beeline for the 18-yard box, and the cutback from Botic only found O'Neill, who was well stationed there.
I was just saying, with Moragas' left foot, he's got wonderful delivery. We saw him clip a ball for the header of Bahaja in that first half that drew a brilliant save from Hewitt Bell. I'd like to see Moragas, when he gets into those advanced areas, use that wonderful left foot of his. There was 3 runners bearing down on the Western United goal.
Bahaja angles it out to Stamatolopoulos. He hasn't had many opportunities tonight. This is a tight angle for him, so he links with Taylor and lashes it straight into Thurgate. Spills to Timmins off Ingham, and Newcastle with a chance to recycle here through Taylor. And just to add to your point, Mossy, that telepathy we've seen this season between Moragas and Stamatolopoulos is something which has been impressive and helped Newcastle get themselves out of some difficult situations, as was the case against Victory and last week against Western Sydney.
I just think when you're chasing the game like that, you can overplay things rather than just get the basics right. And if you can put the ball in those areas, put the ball in the danger area when there's 3 runners in the box, you're going to give yourself more of a chance of scoring an equaliser. see Robbie Stanton looking on. A penny for his thoughts.
First season in the A-League for Rob Stanton. No doubt impressed with the bright signs which have been shown by Newcastle, but in the end, to this point in the season, what's cost them is just that final half an hour of matches. And for them here today, it's about turning that around, and they will need to if they want to get something out of this match.
Yeah, and Robbie called it out in his pre-game interview with Zappers just around match management, aligning to the inexperience or the lack of experience through the squad. There's some experienced players like that one on the ball now, Brandon O'Neill, of course. It is something you only learn with experience.
Taylor. Running a throw. He did say as well this week, Rob Stanton, that didn't want to set too many big goals for Newcastle, goals this season for them. Just wanted them to bed in the structure they wanted to play this year. And his comment in the press this week, he was saying it was really the first time he's mentioned that, where he said, we got 9 points in the first third of the season. Here's a throw for Newcastle. This would be the final match of the middle third. They've got 9 points so far. If they get a point or three, they will already better that. So he wants them to really build throughout the season, improve across each aspect of the campaign.
Well, he's at a club where you can take baby steps and implement with the patience of senior management a 3 to 5 year plan that sets them up for sustained success. I'll get that word out. Not like a Sydney FC or Melbourne Victory or Melbourne City where the pressure is on for titles every season.
Moragas' delivery, searching for Stamatolopoulos. Out some instructions. Wilmering and O'Neill curling. Stamatolopoulos gets up and spilled almost into the path of Moragas. This is Timmins, and now Clayton Taylor on the angle. Taylor, it was shut down by Risdon. Some bright spots there for Newcastle. Now it's Ingham drawing a punch from Heward Bell. So Newcastle throwing everything at the Western goal here. Almost reminiscent of the period Western had in the opening 15 minutes. Grimaldi. Taylor. Little nutmeg.
Well, that was a good period for Newcastle. Nothing to show for it at this stage, but that delivery for Stamatolopoulos, doesn't he get up well? He's not what you'd call a huge target man, but he uses his body so well, and his hang time is very good.
Now with Newcastle a bit stretched, Tenya with an opportunity. Wales, early delivery. Botic on the first, couldn't get it on the second. They just looked vulnerable there, the Jets.
Well, what brilliant work from Daniel Pena in the first instance, and then what a ball that is from Lachie Wales. His vision, awareness, and then execution. Look at that. He really wraps his toe around that one. Great pace on it, great height. The bounce maybe just didn't play into Noah Botic's hands. And Ryan Scott, gee, didn't have to be aware to snuff out the danger.
Moragas now. Wilmering behind. Is Pena given a nudge? According to the referee, he's going to allow play to move on here with Lachie Wales. Pena gliding across this Amy Park surface. Thurgate and the two former Jets combining. Now it's Pasquale. Risdon. Grimaldi. Risdon dinking it into that area. Thurgate, he loves to make those runs into the box. Risdon. And Botic! There's his third of the season. He thought he was going to get one a moment ago. This time he has scored. And Western and 2 to the good.
Well, there'll be inquisitions in the Newcastle defence as to how Bodic got so much space and time, but credit the delivery from Josh Risdon. As we see on the Harvey Norman replay, Thurgate making an incisive run, bringing his left fullback into the game. Little touch inside. There is a question mark of offside, but that is a brilliant delivery as Bodic gets between Moragas and Natta. VAR will have a good look at this one. There might be a hint of offside, but it looks like it happens in slow motion as well. As Bodic just tries to loop the ball over Ryan Scott. Ryan Scott will be disappointed with that, albeit that his balance wasn't going to give him a lot of strength. We'll have to wait and see whether this one stands.
Well, he scored against Newcastle back in December. Well, it got ruled out for offside in a similar circumstance, Noah Bodic, so he'll be desperately hoping this time he's able to add this one to his tally for the season. Jack Morgan with the hand to the ear. No doubt the VAR drawing the lines at the moment. Chris Griffiths-Jones in there. So it was a slight margin that ruled him out in Newcastle in round 10. Is it a slight margin that's going to rule this goal in?
Not the way Jack Morgan is walking.
Yep, so it stands. Noah Bodic onside, no doubt will get you the lines and show you how that decision was made. But Noah Bodic, he deserves that. He's worked really hard tonight. And now Newcastle, with a 2-goal deficit away from home, all mightily difficult from here. Jack Morgan's pulled out his notebook here. Is he going to hand out a card? We've got a Newcastle change in the meantime, so Steins comes on for Moragas.
Well, I think Lockie Wales was taking umbrage with Jack Morgan, thinking he was going to get booked then, but the referee was pulling his book out for the substitution, I think.
You'd be annoyed, wouldn't you, if you went into the book because you were getting frustrated and you gave the referee a bit of lip for getting out the book. All's well that ends well for Western United and Lockie Wales. Stamatolopoulos leading the charge here and evading him either first time. Now it's Steins with basically his first touch. The flag comes up for offside. Oh, you wouldn't believe it, would you? No doubt they'll have a look at this, but Steins, well, that would have been the perfect introduction.
That would have been a coaching masterclass from Rob Stanton with his substitution. But yeah, I think they've got that one spot on.
Well, it's hard to tell.
Oh, it is hard to tell. There is a defender on the far side potentially keeping him on. Looks as though Chris Griffith-Jones is happy that it was offside. Fantastic finish, by the way, Daniel Steins.
Well, it would have been his first of the season. Did score that bomb against Western United last season at Ballarat. So he does know how to find the back of the net. There's Daniel Steins, and really would love to make an impact because he's mainly played off the bench this season, just his 8th appearance. 5 of those coming from the Pine. Just trying to angle this towards Stamatolopoulos, who's clipping it towards Bahaja. And Donachie finding the sideline. Well, Newcastle have shown promise in this second half. It's just about turning those half chances into goals, and that's their issue as it stands right now. Western have been clinical when they've got their opportunities. Grimaldi, Taylor looking for the early delivery towards Stamatolopoulos, who's looking dangerous, isn't he? Mossy to start this second half. He'll get a chance to try and make something happen from the corner.
Yeah, he certainly is. It looks like that substitution with Moragas going off has shifted Wilmering back to left back to give Daniel Steins an opportunity to do what he does in attack.
O'Neill straight to the head of James Donachie. He's going to go in to the box again, O'Neill. Spills for Steins and Timmins. Leighton Taylor. Timmins up towards Stamatolopoulos, and Heward-Bell knows the danger this presented by the likes of Stamatolopoulos. Mark Natter also making a beeline for the box.
He just continues to grow in stature, Tommy Heward-Bell. So delighted for him to see him get this opportunity and take it with both hands. Had a bit to do with him in the past. He's a wonderful pro, great attitude, very patient, waited his chance, and now he's taking it.
Botic, Pena, tight angle, but he can score from that kind of range. We've seen him do it before. And now Thurgate, they're full of confidence here, Western United, with the 2-goal advantage. And we're going to see a change from the home side. And Noah Botic is going to be replaced here by Nikita Rukovica, who is looking for his first A-League goal in almost 9 years. Still yet to get on the score sheet this season. He's had a calf problem which has kept him out for a couple of months. So this is just his 8th appearance of the season, 7 of those coming from the bench. Got a couple of golden boots in the Israeli Premier League, back in Australia this season. Big boost though for Noah Botic as well. Mossy is getting that scoring touch back again. 3 for the season.
Yeah, certainly is. It will be manna from heaven for John Aloisi and his coaching staff as well. So much potential, Noah Botic. Having that finishing touch, it's just what he needs.
And Mossy, you look at the numbers here, Western, I might have banged on about it in the first half, but we're getting evidence to back it up now as we just see that free kick going the way of Western. So 3 goals against Macarthur in Unite round, and they got 2 here, playing this structure with the lone striker up top, additional midfielder. It just looks good, doesn't it, for them? They just look a better side from the naked eye.
Yeah, and again, I think a key to it is Daniel Pena, central, just pulling the strings. He finds great pockets. We know that he's got the killer pass, he's got the creativity.
On the flip side of things, Newcastle, well, how much character is there in this side? We've heard from the players they really enjoying working under Robbie Stanton. Well, this is their opportunity, isn't it, to show their coach what they're made of here in this final 26 minutes plus stoppage time. Taylor. He's done well there. Well, maybe not. In the end, looks as though it's going to be a free kick. Usually see that's the free kick. Usually see Clayton Taylor wear the bright boots. Mossy, he's got the white boots on tonight. I don't know how players pick different coloured boots they wear week to week, but certainly notice it because he knows the faster players always seem to wear the bright boots. And I'm going, Leighton Taylor's wearing white boots tonight. Little change in the boot room for him. You would have had just the black boots, wouldn't you, Mossy?
100%.
The Del Piero boots. As Wales draws the movement of Ryan Scott. That was the one thing I loved about Del Piero. Well, one of the many things was that classy player, black boots, just was so apt as Newcastle earn themselves a corner here, basically out of nothing. Just a stray leg stuck out. Could they make something happen? O'Neill towards Natta, but Donachie is winning every header in the box. John Aloisi will be so happy to have the championship winning defender. At the back here, Bahaja doesn't have the pace to get to Stamatolopoulos now. Steins. And the clearance, well, it's not a brilliant one from Pasquale, but it may just do the business. Tenya bringing out all the tricks of the trade here. Grimaldi. Grimaldi made the angle tighter, and Josh Risdon decided he'd have a pop. He scored the winner against Brisbane at this ground in one of their only wins this campaign.
Well, it didn't have the grand finale to the move, but what about that for a pass from Daniel Pena outside of the left foot, perfectly weighted. Grimaldi ignored the run from Pena, took the shot on himself, which was quite comfortable for Scott to deal with. Just another little snapshot of Pena's class. See Daniel Steins, Clayton Taylor just trying to work those pockets either side of the two holders for West United, Angus Thurgate, Seb Pasquale. Key for Newcastle is to get them on the ball early in those pockets so they can turn and face.
Wales, Pena, a little bit of space afforded to him, but it was shut down by Cal Timmins. Slips the pass back to Shamoon. Grimaldi. And now Pasquale. Pena with the dummy pass to no one. Remember in the first row of the grandstand. Just wonder as well the impact of this man, James Donachie. 2014 grand final winner with Brisbane, 2018 with Melbourne Victory. Finally, they get him back from a calf injury last week against Wellington. Rock solid tonight. This will further assist Western United.
Triple substitution for Western United.
And there's going to be a three-pronged substitution here. Michael Roos coming on. So too is Reece Bosanovsky. And it looks as though it will be Zach Lisalowski, who made his starting debut last week against Wellington, coming off the bench here. So Pasquale, Grimaldi, Looks as though Western are going to go back to having two up top here. Bruce alongside Rukovica. Zalowski over to left back, so Shamoun replaced and Risdon back to his usual position on the right. So a little bit to keep track of there with the final 20 minutes now upon us here at Amy Park. Western chasing just their third win of the season. Newcastle have it in the legs to go at Western here, try and find something. Just wonder as well, Mossy, the impact of that match against Western Sydney on Sunday. Really draining match emotionally as much as anything, with everything going on and off the pitch. Western just going after a third goal here.
I think that'll be the key. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, Benny, whether the mindset of Western now is to start to protect that lead for those precious 3 points that they so desire, or whether they go the ruthless approach and look for the third.
And with those substitutions, it really looks as though they are trying to put the foot to the floor, aren't they?
Yeah, and so they should. You know, they've had Newcastle on the rack for long periods of this game, despite Newcastle showing some bright green shoots, if you like. But I think where Newcastle really needed to score was that disallowed goal from Daniel Steins. They'd dominated for those 5 or 6 minutes. They had the ball in the back of the net. It was ruled offside, correctly so. That may have just taken some wind out of them as well.
It's that period, wasn't it? Before half-time, just after it. Take their opportunities that were presented, and Western have been able to find themselves a second, and now potentially a third as Risdon linking with Pena. And Risdon's curling towards Wales at the back post, where Dane Ingham was just shielding that header on goal.
There was an appeal from Lockie Wales for handball straight off his head here as we see the ball whipped in from Josh Risdon. I think it's gone into the shoulder of the Newcastle defender. I think it was Dane Ingham.
You'd be unfortunate, wouldn't you, if you're Ingham and you got pinged again. Remember the one against Brisbane, Mossy, in Unite round? Oh, and here we go. The dreaded pause for Dane Ingham. He's thinking, not again. Jack Morgan, I think, is going to... He was actually refereeing that game, would you believe? Jack Morgan. So, no doubt he'll have memories of that moment. Here it is.
It's hard to see from that angle, but it looks like back and shoulder to me.
Bozanovski. Across the 6-yard box.
And we don't always agree, me and my old friend Chris Griffith-Jones, but we do on this occasion. I think if anything, it may have clipped the back of his arm, but you couldn't call that an unnatural position.
Well, it was out wide, Bossy. Anyway, opportunity knocks here for Bozanovski, who fires just wide of goal.
The joys of being a VAR referee, hey?
I think you'd say harsh, but yeah, you never know, do you? You never know.
And if we're going to get technical, the part of the arm that it may or may not have hit was the tricep, and that was connected to the body.
Let's go to something I can analyse more closely, Mossy. So there's the ladder as it stands right now. So Western up to 11 points. Newcastle stay on 18 after 18 matches. So they're going to have to get a wriggle on the Jets the back end of the season if this scoreline remains as it is. Western, though, the miracle could still happen. They've still got enough games in hand, remember. They've still got 2 games in hand on most of the competition. If they can find some form ahead of a return to, well, not a return, but a new beginning at Tarneit. Newcastle, though, with a foray forward. Ingham, Bahaja. Well, Hewitt Bell, he is just outstanding at the moment, and he is desperate to keep a clean sheet for the first time this season.
Well, he's impenetrable, isn't he, at the moment, Hewitt Bell, but I'm putting that more down to a miss than a great save. Trent Bahaja with the whole goal to aim at, right in front, free header. Quite simply, he's got to do better.
Stamatolopoulos falls for Taylor. Tight angle, and he tries to squeeze it inside that near post.
Substitution for Western United. Coming off the pitch, number 11 and goal scorer, Daniel Pena.
Here it is here, Trent Bahaja, free as a bird, right inside the 6-yard box, the whole goal to aim at. He gets good connection on it. I'm not saying it's easy, but look at that, straight at the goalkeeper, any side, left or right of Hewitt Bell, and that's going to have to be a spectacular save to keep it out of the back of the net.
Well, here's an A-League men's debut for Luke Vickery, the teenager, the 18-year-old from Box Hill. Would you believe he began in Western's 18 side last season, quickly into their 21s, and by the end of 2023 he was in their 23 side. And John Aloisi spent a month doing some training with that under 23, so I was really impressed with Luke Vickery as well as Matt Grimaldi. Ollie Laval, who's injured, and he ensured that there potentially would be an opportunity if he kept at this level, and he certainly has. So he gets that opportunity tonight to debut in the A-League. See what he can bring to this Western side late on. Bahaja into the back of Thurgate. Timmins. Ingham looking for another decent delivery, searching for Stamatolopoulos. O'Neill and Steins. And Natta with a slip. Wilmering tried to get back. It opens the door here for Vickery to slip it forward to Roos. Rukovic making the run at the back post, but Roos is bearing down himself, looking for Vickery. What a moment that would be. The 18-year-old. He would be Western's youngest ever goal scorer if he did find the back of the net. Matt Grimaldi holding that mantle at 20 years and about 25 days, so 18 would blow that out of the water. Western only got their full academy set up last year from 14s all the way through, and this is the exciting part about their future, is trying to develop that all the way into the first team now, bringing through the likes of the Vickerys and Grimaldis of the world. Newcastle with some late reinforcements, so Bahaja coming off for Justin Vidic, who's going to make his 4th appearance. He scored against Adelaide back in round 9. And Phil Kankar also heading onto the field. So Grimaldi coming off. Maybe Rob Stanton just seeing a bit of fatigue in his young centre-back. That's what he said he wanted to do this season. Rob Stanton exposed some of these young players to this level. Grimaldi's had those consecutive starts.
Yeah, it was a forceful challenge there from Michael Roos, really throwing everything into that challenge. Clayton Taylor looking for some respite from the referee, didn't get it.
Good link up from Vidic to find Stamatolopoulos. Steins uses Timmins. Timmins drives towards goal and Heward Bell comfortable enough. Well, he's 10 minutes away from his first clean sheet with Western United.
Well, we saw Trent Bahaja substituted just before. He'll be in disbelief tonight that he hasn't got a goal to his name. That first half header that was brilliantly saved by Heward Bell, and then the second half one, which was a free header right in front. Couldn't get his angles right.
Taylor getting himself about. Great close control again from Clayton Taylor. Stamatolopoulos.
Point is, though, Newcastle have had their chances tonight. Western have been good, and they're fully deserving of the 2-0 lead. Newcastle are disappointed they haven't at least taken one of those chances.
Steins. Too far behind Taylor. Frustrated looks from Newcastle players. I was going to ask you that, Mossy. Newcastle down 2-0 here. Where does this performance rank for them? Because many would look at the scoreline and the way they have been in certain patches of the game and be disappointed. But then you think of those chances they've created. They haven't been half chances. They've probably been better than that. They've been really good opportunities.
Yeah, they have. I think where they've lacked tonight is a bit of energy, and Rob Stanton alluded to it during the week. They've had a pretty heavy schedule, as we see those expected goals from the first half and the second half. Newcastle definitely creating some more clear-cut chances in the second half to get that expected goals up.
And it probably tells you the story that maybe the scoreline doesn't fully reflect how Newcastle have been with the ball in that final third. Maybe it tells the story of a wonderful goalkeeping performance as well from Heward Bell, and maybe some disappointing finishing.
It's a pretty good summation. Let's not take away anything from Western United. Their energy's been good tonight, and that's the first thing that Aloisi spoke about in the pre-game, was the bounce in the step, the spring in the step, the energy. Some good news around the club this week that always makes players and staff feel good.
Yeah, it's something John Aloisi said, that vibe was there from early in the week when that news was announced. And they're able to really build on that. Luke Vickery's only been on the field a matter of minutes. He's frustrated with that decision.
I'll be feeling 10 foot tall. The youngster getting his debut at a great stage of the game. His side 2-0 up. I'm sure the instruction was go out there and enjoy yourself. Play to the structures, but play with a smile on your face.
Timmins and Kanka. Dane Ingham has created some good opportunities in this second half. Is this another one? Imai. Both he and Donachie, and that strike is high and wide. Both Imai and Donachie have been so impressive, haven't they? Cutting out those balls, not allowing Stamatolopoulos any supply from out wide.
No, that's right. Stamatolopoulos really hasn't been allowed to get into the game at all tonight. And that is down to, as you mention the defensive effort of those two to a large extent. Look at that. Wonderful season he's having.
Yeah, Joel Griffiths in that 07-08, the championship winning season. And Adam Taggart, that 13-14 campaign with Newcastle, where everything he touched turned to goals for Newcastle. Season where, as is usually the case for the Jets, they finished 7th, probably just a few points outside the finals places. It's going to be an uphill battle if they want to turn that around again this season. As Vickery, good handling in the box, wasn't it? Swerving away from Jets. He is chasing a debut goal. And is there a further problem for Newcastle? It looks to be just a bit of cramp for Wilmering, which you could probably understand because he hasn't played out the full 90 a whole lot. He's only started 4 times out of 15 this season. And Mossy, well, probably tells you the story, doesn't it? Just what we're talking about before. Newcastle have had their chances, but Tom Hewitt-Bell has snuffed them out tonight, and that's why he's at the top.
Yeah, that's right, deservedly so. As I said, an impressive professional, been very patient, taking his chance now with both hands. A little bit surprised not to see Daniel Pena on that list.
Wales almost squeezed it through, and Scott expressing his frustration, then realising it was a goal kick, or a free kick I should say. Wales just caught offside, and Newcastle have given up the ball again. Bozanovsky, Wales drifting wide.
It was young Vickery that played Lockie Wales in there. It's the second time in a couple of minutes. We've just seen a little snapshot of the quality that he possesses that caught the eye of John Aloisi. Both in the box in tight areas.
Scott's coming a long way. Comes off Ingham.
What a fantastic one too.
Now Stamatolopoulos. Again, great close control. Referee's going to award him the free kick, and now O'Neill. He's been collected by Donachie, who's been a thorn in the Jets side tonight, and that's a painful thorn for O'Neill.
We'll see on the replay here. I think he gets up when we don't see it. There were some afters there. Just for a split second, I thought he might have found himself in a little bit more trouble than what he got himself into. Donachie.
Well, was he shown a yellow card? Yeah, he was. So confirmation there, James Donachie into the book.
Here it is here. He goes to ground, gets up, and it's that one there.
Yeah, it is a nasty one, Mossy. You just wonder whether VAR is having a look at it.
Well, at first look, I thought he could be in trouble here.
They don't need this, Weston. Dying embers of this game. Is Jack Morgan going to be called to the screen? I'm almost certain he is here.
Yeah, I think he will be. There was no need for it. Absolutely no need for it.
Well, Western are most likely going to win this game, but doesn't this just sum up their season? Something really positive for them tonight. James Donachie's been outstanding. Finally, after 4 months, back from a calf injury. Is he about to be sent off here for just a needless challenge?
It's hard to see on that angle. But you can see him get to his feet. The ball just gets away from him, and then he studs her up and he lunges, and that is very, very dangerous. That's the angle there. That is very dangerous. Let's hope for Brandon O'Neill's sake. I think he's back on his feet, which is good news. But both feet leave the ground as well.
Well, Mossy, do you say the only option here is a red card?
Yeah, I do. I did. I mean, I thought that initially, and nothing's changed since.
So James Donachie, absolutely outstanding tonight. And his night is going to be ended with a red card. And Western United, while they're 2-0 up, the frustration continues.
Well, I'm going to say a player of his experience should know better. I don't think there can be any argument with that being a red card. Both feet left the ground. It was a lunge. Studs were up. Connected with Brandon O'Neill's ankle. Look at that. You just can't go doing that.
And the referee had blown up play as well. In that period, there was already a free kick going to Newcastle for the Stamatolopoulos incident. Risdon asking the question. He won't be asking that if he has a look at the replay. And James Donachie, 2 matches back after 4 months on the sideline. He's going to spend another one, potentially more than a week as well, Mossy. Newcastle up against 10 men again. Kankar getting up and about. And off the rump of Vickery via the boot of Risdon. Now Clayton Taylor earning a corner. So we've got 5 minutes of additional time. You sense that will probably be more now.
Well, all they need is one, Newcastle. And if they get it here, and you can see Brandon O'Neill still struggling with the after effects of that challenge. And it was just so needless from Donachie. He'd had a wonderful game tonight at the heart of defence for Western. He's experienced enough to know his job was just to manage the game out.
So Wilmering up towards Natter, who rose a little early. They've been a little high as well for him. So Newcastle with 11 on the pitch, but almost looks as though they're down to 10 as Natter gets up. Stamatolopoulos as well. It's a scramble in the box, but there was a handball in there. And I was just going to mention, Mossy, Newcastle might have 11 on the field, but the way O'Neill's running, it's like they're down to 10 because they don't have any changes left.
Yeah, that's right. You can't blame him for that, as we see the handball from Stamatolopoulos. Good decision from referee Jack Morgan, but yeah, he's really hobbling around there, Brandon O'Neill. Quite honestly, he's lucky to be back on his feet.
Thurgate over the top. And Heward-Bell, Tom Heward-Bell, if he can keep a clean sheet, it would be his first since April 9, 2022 for Sydney FC against the Mariners. He's only minutes away now. Be a big moment for him in Western colours. And as we've mentioned, Mossy, he's had a rough season this year. He's had shots fired at him from all angles. They've had a tough campaign, but he's continued to impress in goal. That's why he's played every match for them this season, as Vidic has it pinched by Bozanovski. Newcastle win it back through Stamatolopoulos, but then Angus Thurgate. And a lot of turnover going on here. Vidic. Stamatolopoulos, can he turn provider here? Vidic tries to flick it on. This probably should be a corner and will be for Newcastle. John Aloisi watching on nervously. Probably shouldn't be too nervous, but
It'll be more his blood pressure from the Donachie red card, all the nerves.
Wilmering. They throw themselves about. Stamatolopoulos, he should have scored, but somehow Josh Risdon, the captain, keeps the clean sheet alive for Western United.
Well, I'll put my house on it that Heward-Bell will be buying his captain a beer later tonight, as we see on the replay. Risdon using all his experience just to cover that far post area and clear it off the line.
Corner comes in, Stamatolopoulos this time, he still can't beat the brick wall Heward-Bell. Yeah, it's one of those nights, isn't it, for Apostolos, Stamatolopoulos and Newcastle. Whatever they do, they just cannot breach the goal of the Western keeper. Stamatolopoulos getting up again, the header from Lisalowski, and then Vickery got it away. And O'Neill's ball cut out by Vickery.
Oh, it's great theatre, isn't it? What about this for a fingertip save from Tom Heward-Bell? He doesn't care how, any which way he's keeping that ball out of his net tonight.
Taylor cutting inside. O'Neill letting it run on and then finding the pass to Stamatolopoulos, who takes on and beats Risdon this time. Plenty of men in the box for Newcastle. Stamatolopoulos going all the way. Wilmering. And Wales angles the header away.
I can tell you Brandon O'Neill is a broken man. He can hardly move. Just went to ground clutching that ankle.
Ingham around the outside, back post delivery, and it's crossed the byline, Mossy. Would you believe, with that flurry of shots, Western United have been able to keep their first clean sheet of the season. They did everything to keep Newcastle at bay at the back end. And finally, they've got win number 3 this season. And a week which started on a positive note with news that they're heading back to Tarneet in the coming weeks, ends with victory. Devastation for the Newcastle captain, Brandon O'Neill, who leaves the field with the help of Michael Weir, but it's celebrations for Western United. Maybe they can produce some kind of miraculous turnaround this season and pull themselves from the brink back into the finals race. It's got to start somewhere, and maybe it started tonight. Daniel Pena, he scored the opener from the penalty spot with a cheeky Panenka, and then Noah Botic with the second to make it a 2-0 scoreline. In the end, Newcastle threw everything at Western United and actually ended up with greater XG thanks to that late flurry, but they could not beat Tom Heward-Bell. Full time at Amy Park. Western United 2, Newcastle Jets 0. So a painful one on many fronts for Newcastle and Brandon O'Neill. You just wonder what the extent of that injury is. Copping the full brunt of the studs from James Donachie, who was sent off late on, so he's going to be missing next week. So too is Jacob Tratt. So they're down defensive reinforcements once again, Western United, but they can worry about that on Tuesday night when they face victory. Let's get some reaction with Zappers.
Yeah, one of the stars for Western United tonight, Daniel Pena, joins me. What about that penalty? Was that always the plan, or did you make up your mind when you took it?
Good night, yes. I was trying in the training. We had friendly match inside our training, and I was doing, to be honest, and I was ready to that. And I just asked the guys, because Scott played here last two seasons, and I just asked the guys if he stay in the middle, but they said nah. So I just said, yeah, I will try. So that happened. Yeah, I'm so happy to help the team to pushing up. We still believing we can change. I don't think we deserve to be in the bottom, to be honest. So yeah, I'm so happy to this victory to pushing up the guys.
It was so cool. This week was a big announcement for the club. You've got a new home. John Eloisi spoke before the game about how much that lifted the team this week. Did it have an impact tonight? Yes, for sure. That's the dream of the club, like our home, our stadium, our training ground. So we are so happy, and this gave like more energy for us to come here to show the fans come here to watch us. And this is pushing up 100% us. And at the back, we'd love to talk about the goals, but a clean sheet tonight, the first one I think this season, so that's massive. There were some late scares at the end, but everyone looks so desperate to keep that clean sheet as well. Yeah, to be honest, we are prepared for everything. That last couple minutes, we are ready for that. We have a very good goalkeeper. We have a lot of good young boys. So yeah, they are there. The Rizia was there as well to helping us. So yes, we deserve, to be honest, we deserve this victory. Enjoy it. Thank you so much. Well done. All right, Dane Ingham to join me now. Dane, not your night tonight. You had plenty of chances. I was just saying to Daniel Pena to score. You probably could have scored 2 or 3 tonight, but they threw everything at you and looked like they were desperate for the win tonight. How did you see it?
Yeah, for sure. I think you summed it up well with the word desperate. You know, I mean, last minute they make some big saves, and then Rizzo clears one off the line as well. I mean, today I just don't think we were at it. We weren't, the 1%ers, we just weren't there, not enough intent, and they punished us. You know, it doesn't really, I think their position doesn't really reflect the talent they have, I guess, and we got punished today.
Your coach spoke about the short turnaround. You've had a lot of short turnarounds. Did that hurt you in the end tonight, do you think?
I mean, we can use that as an excuse, but everyone has to play. These guys have to play on Tuesday, I think, again. I mean, everyone has to do it, so we can't really use it as an excuse.
You're still in touch of the finals. You've spoken about the belief and how unified this young group is. Where to from here?
Yeah, we just have to regroup. Longer turnaround now, so hopefully we can freshen up, and we need to just have more intent next week. Just more aggression, everything, and hopefully we can do that and get 3 points next weekend.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Zappers.